Zandile Khumalo identified accused number 2, Bongani Ntazi, as one of the intruders at the house on the night Senzo Meyiwa was killed. She also gave a chilling account of the soccer star's final moments on the way to hospital. Khumalo will continue to recount her version of events on that fateful day. And our reporter, Manqoba Mchunu, is tracking that story for us and joins me now to give us an update of exactly what happened in court yesterday and also what's to be expected today. A colleague, a very warm good morning to you. Yesterday, quite an emotional account, I have to say, by Zandile Khumalo. We saw comfort breaks and adjournments also being taken just to give her time. But she was given that account of Senzo Meyiwa's final moments leading up to the hospital, right?
Certainly, Tumelo, and I think it was an emotional testimony from Zandile Khumalo yesterday, who had to ask for a comfort break from court to try and compose herself. And this is when she was giving an account of what happened on the trip to hospital after Senzo Meyiwa had been shot. And she described Senzo Meyiwa's final moments, saying that they had applied pressure on his wound to try and ensure that he didn't bleed out, and also the fact that during that hospital trip they had also tried to speak to Senzo Meyiwa just to ensure that he was awake at the time. She says that what scared her is that when she touched Senzo Meyiwa's stomach at some point, she felt that it was cold, and she could just see just from his facial expressions and from his eyes that she says were rolling back at that particular point, that the situation was not good at all. They did arrive at the hospital, and she's the one that had rushed to the emergency room shouting that they had somebody who had been shot in the car, and he was then fetched with a stretcher by the emergency personnel. And from that moment, she says that they were told that they couldn't go inside that ward. It's only up until her mother arrived moments later with her then boyfriend Longwe that the mother then had gone into that emergency room just moments after she had done that. That's when they heard her burst out with a cry, which indicated to them that things were not going well at all. She came back and broke the news that Senzo Meyiwa had in fact been killed at that particular point. And she also detailed, the moments after that, news from her mother, Gladness Khumalo, was also one of the people that was inside the house, saying that, there was a lot of crying outside that ward. The Orlando Pirates team also arrived at the hospital moments after that, accompanied by the wife of Senzo Meyiwa, Samkize, and there was a scuffle that broke out outside of that emergency room between Mandisa and Kelly Khumalo. And she also detailed how Kelly Khumalo then gone to say her final goodbyes to Senzo Meyiwa. But crucial to her evidence that she gave yesterday was around the accused and the suspects that were inside the house. She gave a detail of the 2 intruders that came inside the house, saying that the first one, who had a gun, was short. He had dreadlocks that reached the shoulders, and that he was light in complexion, but also that he had a shiny skin, he had contours on his face. She also gave details about the second suspect. She says was tall, he was dark in complexion, and he had a pointed beard. She actually pointed to one of the accused in this case, as being the one that was in the house, Bongani Ntazi, who is accused number 2. She says she can see him, that he was one of those intruders that was inside the house. And of course, we're expecting her cross-examination to begin yesterday, but that was also delayed, Tumelo, due to the reason that Zandile Khumalo had indicated that she was not feeling well at the time, but also the state raising issues around her accommodation, saying that they had wanted to resolve those issues, which really didn't impress the presiding officer in this case, Judge Rata Mukhateng, who made it quite clear that he's not going to tolerate any delays in this matter, and that he's not going to entertain any issues that are not pertaining to the running of the court. He did indicate that he expects cross-examination to continue today, and so this is what we're expecting today, that Zandile Khumalo will be back here on the stand to begin with cross-examination. Of course, this case has been marked by several delays. It's been years, this case not being heard. heard in court. And so the expectation really is that the proceedings are going to continue today, and that cross-examination is likely to continue also.
All right, we'll be sure, of course, to be early and on time for it, colleague, as soon as those court proceedings do begin. Quite important to see what the legal reps representing the accused have in store in terms of questioning, the line of questioning and positioning Zandile Khumalo in that house the moment that Senzo Meyiwa was, of course, shot at, and whether or not Zandile does confidently identify the accused as those responsible. But Manqoba Mchunu, our eNCA report, of course, giving us the very latest coming from the Senzo Meyiwa trial. It's a restart of the trial. Presiding Judge Ratha not tolerating any further delays 8 years into this case, and quite persistent to get to the bottom of cross-examination. eNCA's Manqoba Mchunu will be live for us as soon as it begins.